dear students. This is the history book of class 10th, and we were discussing the first chapter of this book, which is the rise of nationalism in Europe. Now, we'll discuss the next topic of this chapter, which is what did liberal nationalism stand for? Ideas of national unity in early 19th century Europe were closely allied to the ideology of liberalism. The term liberalism derives from the Latin root liber meaning free. For the new middle classes, liberalism stood for freedom for the individual and equality of all before the law. Politically, it emphasized the concept of government by consent. Since the French Revolution, liberalism had stood for the end of autocracy and clerical privileges, a constitution and representative government through parliament. 19th century liberals also stressed the inviolability of private property. Now we'll discuss that what is liberalism and what did liberal nationalism stand for. According to the ideology of liberalism, in early 19th century Europe were having this ideology, and the term liberalism was a word derived from the word liber. Liber word से derive हुआ था and it was having a meaning, and its meaning is free, to get freed, मतलब free होना. And for the new middle classes, the liberalism also stood for their freedom individually, and they also know that if they are liberal, it means that they are equal among all before the law. And politically also, it had given a concept to the government that which government stood by consent. And French Revolution, after the French Revolution, liberalism had stood for uh, by the end of autocracy and clerical privileges, a constitution and representative government through parliament had been made. 19th century liberals, they had stressed their inviolability of private property. And yet, equality before the law, we have already discussed that equality before law did not necessarily stand for universal suffrage, but the equality before law wasn't given to all. You'll recall that in revolutionary France, and you'll know about these things that at the in the revolutionary France, it had already happened, and which marked the first political experiment in liberal democracy. The right to vote and to get elected was granted exclusively to property, as we have already discussed that who were having property, जिसके पास property होती थी, they were having the right to vote, and only men can cast their vote. Men without property and all women, they were not having the voting rights. And for a brief period under the Jacobin clubs, when the Jacobin clubs had been formed, some all the adult males had enjoyed the suffrage, had enjoyed casting vote. But when the Napoleonic Code went back to the limited suffrage and reduced women to the status of a minor, according to the Napoleonic Code, the women had again become a minor and subject to the authority of the fathers and husbands. Throughout the 19th century and early 20th century, women and non-propertied men organized a opposition movement demanding equal political rights. And in the whole 19th century, the women and some men who were not having property, they have struggled and they have demanded, they have done many movements to get the equal political rights among all the citizens. And the economical sphere, liberalism, according to the economy, liberalism stood for freedom of markets and the abolition of state imposed restriction on the movement of goods and capital. When we talk about the economy, liberalism का मतलब क्या होता था? ये फ्रीडम होती थी मार्केट्स की, और जो स्टेट्स ने रेस्ट्रिक्शन इम्पोज की थी कि मूवमेंट ऑफ द गुड्स एंड कैपिटल नहीं हो सकता, वो लिबरलिज्म होता था. And during the 19th century, this was a strong demand of emerging middle classes. And in that time, it was a strong demand as they were demanding the equal economical rights also. Let us take the example of the German speaking regions. अब हम एग्जांपल लेते हैं जो जर्मन स्पीकिंग रीजन्स थे फर्स्ट ऑफ 19th सेंचुरी में. Napoleon's administrative measures had created out of countless small principalities of a confederation of 39 states. Each of these possessed its own currency and weights and measures. A merchant traveling in 1833 from Hamburg to Nuremberg to sell his goods would have had to pass through 11 custom barriers and pay a custom duty of about 5% at each one of them. Duties were often levied according to the weight of the measurement of the goods as each region had its own system of weights and measures. Is this involved time consuming calculation. The measure of cloth, for example, was the ale which is in each region stood for a different length. An ale of textile material bought in Frankfurt would get you a 54 point centimeter of cloth, in Mainz 55.1, and in Nuremberg 65.6, and in Freiburg 53.5. What happened that Napoleon administrative measures were that he had make principalities of confederation for 39 states, and in each state they were having different currency, different type of weight measuring and calculation. And in 1833, if a person uh, transports or travels from Hamburg to Nuremberg, he had to pass 11 customs and he had to pay 5% of the goods at each custom. It means that 55% he is going to pay to all the states, and they were having different type of measuring at when we'll take an example of cloth. सो टेक्सटाइल मटेरियल में क्या होता था, एल मेजरिंग होता था. एल की मेजरिंग में अगर आप फ्रैंकफर्ट में वो मेज़र करवाते हो तो एक एल की मेजरिंग होती थी 54.5 सेंटीमीटर, 54.7 सेंटीमीटर. बट इन मेंस में 55.1 होती थी, न्यूरमबर्ग में 65.6 होती थी, और फ्रीबर्ग में 53.5 होती थी. एंड सच कंडीशन वर व्यूज्ड एज मतलब ऐसी कंडीशंस ऑब्स्टेकल्स ही होंगी इकोनॉमिकल एक्सचेंज में और ग्रोथ में. जो नई कॉमर्शियल क्लासेस थी who argued for the creation of a unified economic territory, allowing the unhindered movement of goods, people, and capital. In 1834, a custom union or Zollverein was formed at the initiative of Prussia and joined by most of the German states. The union abolished tariff barriers and reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. The creation of network of railways further stimulated mobility, harassing economic interest to national unification. A wave of economic nationalism strengthened the wider nationalist sentiments growing at the time. एंड ऐसी कंडीशंस हो गई थी तो कुछ ने आर्ग्यू किया एंड उन्होंने एक इकोनॉमिक यूनिफाइड इकोनॉमिक टेरिटरी बनाई एंड अलाउ किया दैट people can move their goods, people can also move, and their capital also can move. In 1834 एक कस्टम यूनियन का फॉर्मेशन हुआ. ये प्रशिया का इनिशिएटिव था. उस कस्टम यूनियन का नाम क्या था, जॉल्वेरिन. एंड बहुत से जर्मन स्टेट्स ने इसको अडॉप्ट किया. यूनियन टैरिफ बैरियर एबॉलिश्ड हुए और जो करेंसीज थी वो 30 से 2 पे रिड्यूस हो गई. एंड मोबिलिटी और नेटवर्क ऑफ रेलवेज की वजह से जो मोबिलिटी थी, मूवमेंट था, वो बढ़ा. इकोनॉमिक इंटरेस्ट कम हुए, यूनिफिकेशन हुआ, एंड एक इकोनॉमिक नेशनलिज्म का वेव जो हुआ वो स्ट्रेंथ हुआ, स्ट्रॉन्ग हुआ. एंड वाइडर nationalist sentiments have grown at the same time. जो नेशनल सेंटिमेंट थे वो उनका भी वो भी बढ़े. So that's enough for today's class. Now we'll discuss the next topic, a new conservatism after 1815, in the next class. See you all in the next class. Till then, goodbye, take care, stay home, stay safe, and don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. Thank you so much.